Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode. I'm so excited you are here. I want to talk to you about goal setting again. I know, it's like end of March. What are we doing? That's exactly why I want to bring up this topic again. If you've been around here for a while, I think at the beginning of the year, I did a series on goal setting, and I talked to you a lot about why you should only pick one goal and how to really look at short-term versus long-term goals. And there's a lot of really good information on how to set goals, so you can go back and listen to those episodes if this one resonates or if you're really thinking about goals. But the reason I wanted to do this episode specifically as we are nearing April is because I want you to take time and reflect right now, whenever you're listening to this, even if it's later, and I want you to think about what happened to your goal. What happened in the last 3 months or 6 months or whenever you're listening to that January goal that you set? I don't say this in any way to shame you or to make you feel bad or anything. I want you to actually just get in the habit of rechecking in every quarter, because this is the only way that you're actually going to ever stick to your goal. One of the biggest mistakes we make, and we all know this kind of cycle, is we get super excited in January for resolutions, or we get a lot of messaging like we should have resolutions. We should have, some people pick a word of what they want their year to look like or whatnot. There's a lot of different ways where it's like this intention. And it makes sense. There's the beginning of the new year, it seems like a clean slate. And so we have this motivation, and then inevitably life catches up to us. You get sick like me, you end up getting slammed at work, whatever happens, you end up not doing it. And then by the time March rolls around, which is when this episode is coming out, you've completely forgotten about it. We completely put it on the back burner. And sometime around November next year, this year, but in 6 months, we'll be like, oh my God, I never even did anything for my goal. And then we'll heap on the shame and the guilt, and we'll feel terrible. And I want you to stop that, okay? So I want you to know that right now is the perfect time to revisit what that goal is. And if you never set a goal, perfect. This is the perfect time to set it. I actually think that January is kind of a really rough time to set goals. I know that it aligns with kind of the calendar that we follow, but it's the middle of winter. It's dark out. Naturally, your body is more tired. You are kind of operating in a more slow manner, just like everything else in nature, because that is what the season requires. Unless you're in Australia, in which case maybe it's a great time to set goals because it's summer. But you catch my drift. If you're in America and it is the dead of winter, maybe not the best time to set the goal to start training for a marathon, right? And so now that we're coming to the end of March, which is also the end of quarter one, and we're going into quarter two, and we're going to spring, and it's light out later, and it's becoming warmer, and you naturally will start having a little bit more energy. It is the perfect time to start thinking about, okay, what is the goal I want to have? And so if you didn't start then, start now. And if you did start then, great. Take this moment to look back and think about what worked and what didn't work in the last 3 months, not forever ago, and this isn't an opportunity to just beat yourself up. I want you to really sort of become curious and become the observer of your life, right? Instead of doing it from a lens of I'm the worst, I never stick to things, I'm not consistent, I hate myself, whatever, we're going to shelve that. And we want to look at if some outside observer came in and looked and said okay, what didn't work? Well, maybe I didn't have accountability. I just can't get myself motivated enough. Maybe I need a partner in order to do this. Or maybe I took on too much and I thought I was going to work out 5 days a week, and that's just wholly unlikely. And so maybe I need to create a smaller goal. Maybe it was that I didn't really plan it out. I didn't really have a plan. I just sort of had this pipe dream. Or my plan wasn't as well thought out and I didn't take into consideration these things. Okay, great. Now I know. If I look back and see this is what is not working, this is what's getting in my way, then I can come up with a better, a better way to tackle the next quarter. And I really do want you to think about, like, you can think about long-term what the long-term goal for the year is going to be, and you only get one goal, what the one goal is. But I want you more to think about what is it going to be for the next quarter. So what's the next 3 months? What is this 90-day sprint, right? If you're watching in real time, like in March, then it's perfect time. Like April, May, June. What am I going to accomplish in that? Stop creating something where like you have to sort of think about the entire rest of the year. You're really like, you can look at where do I want to be at the end of the year, but what do I need to focus on? Can I zoom myself back in? Can I put on the blinders and really think about what are the 3 things I'm going to do in order to get to my goal in these 3 months, right? What is the reasonable work that I can get to in order to make sure that I actually make some progress, okay? So I want you to start there. I want you to like figure out like what it is that you're going to focus on right now, and what are like no more than 3 activities that you're going to focus on for the next 3 months. And then I want you to also set an alarm on your calendar and your reminders. I want you to go into your reminders, and I want you to pick a date 3 months from now that you're going to revisit this. Hey, put the link to this YouTube video in that calendar reminder, and then have this video come up again, and you can listen to it again in that quarter and go through the same exact process. The more you allow yourself, like one of the things that I think we really misunderstand about goal setting is, for whatever reason, I think a lot of us believe that we're going to just be perfect at it. We're going to pick this thing. We're going to always have motivation. Nothing's going to get in our way. We're going to hit it exactly the way it should. And when we get derailed, which we inevitably will because life is going to happen, we get we give up. It becomes all or nothing. Like, well, I didn't do it for a couple of weeks, so it's completely over. And I want you to, like, the biggest thing you can do in order to learn how to hit your goals is get out of that thinking, is just train yourself to see that it's not over, right? And that comes with reps, right? But you're going to try, like, to say, like, okay, maybe this quarter was a wash. Maybe I didn't do as much as I wanted to. I still have 3 quarters left of the year. How does it make sense to just completely give up? Let me try again. Let me do another at bat, right? Let me go up and see, like, what else can I do? And when you get into that mindset, then your goals become inevitable, because yes, there will be hiccups. Yes, you will get sick, or tragedy will strike, or work will get super busy, or whatever will happen that will stop you from being able to do it right then. But then you know yourself, and you know, like, okay, I'm going to get back into it. I don't have to keep recycling this pattern where I completely give up and then I wait till the next year and then we start over it again, right? One example I will give you, when I started this one goal project where like I limited myself to one goal, the first goal I picked was in 2020. I had just started my coaching business, and I had set a goal to make $100,000 in that first year. And I set the goal in January, and COVID happened that March, right? And by July or August, I had made like, I want to say $5,000, maybe $10,000. I clearly was nowhere close to $100,000. I was nowhere even in the ballpark. And if I had just taken that and said, like, okay, it's not going to happen. I already tried this. I was trying to sell coaching. It wasn't working the way that I wanted. There's no way I'm going to do this. I wouldn't have made $93,000 that year. And I did because in July or August, I remember reevaluating and really thinking like, okay, well, now I have to make $90,000 in 6 months. Like, I wanted to make $100,000 a year, and that didn't work. And I've been trying different things. It wasn't as if I wasn't doing stuff, but I clearly wasn't getting the results. And I kept trying different things. And I remember reevaluating and going into Q3 and thinking, okay, I have to try something different, or I wanted to do different things with my audience. And I ended up selling a group program and making like $80,000 in October, between September and October, which was mind-blowing in and of itself. Like, it really shifted so much of my consciousness because of so much that I didn't think was possible happened. But it also fundamentally shifted how I thought about goals, because I really thought like, I could have given up. I could have decided like, all right, you know what, we'll get it next year. There's no way I'm going to make $100,000. There's no way I'm going to make anything close. So I might as well just like give up on this goal. And that's only comes from a place of like, I think I have to protect myself, because if I fail, it feels so bad that I'm just going to say I'm not going to do this goal, right? Because the worst thing that was happening has already happened. I hadn't made $100,000 already. So like if I gave up on it and I didn't make $100,000 at the end, I would be exactly where I was in July. I hadn't made it then either. But the harder part was that like I'd have to face the fact that I was a quote unquote failure, or I actually tried. I actually put myself out there and it didn't work. And I really had to sit with like, well, can I sit with that? Of course I can, right? Most of it was just embarrassment. Like I didn't want other people to see me try and fail. I didn't want other people to see that maybe I'm not good at this, or maybe I'm not actually a coach, or this is so embarrassing or whatnot. And so I had the inclination to hide, which is what I think a lot of us do. It's like this inclination of like, well, if I never actually put my effort out, then I can't confirm this insecurity that I have that like maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I'll never be good enough, or whatever the insecurity is. And I started realizing that that was just a lie my brain was telling me to try to keep me safe, to try to keep me from trying new things. And I was like, you know what? I would rather try and fail. I would rather go full out and to myself, like have this goal and see that I failed at it and actually grow and learn and practice and figure out why I'm failing and deal with all of the negative emotions and get over this embarrassment and at least grow in that journey, than to never try and still never make $100,000. Like at the end of the year, maybe I won't have anything, but I will have learned a lot. I will have tried a lot. I will have at least like been in the arena fighting, right? Instead of like sitting on the stands, always hoping for things. And so I made a decision, like we're going all out. And I had been trying to go all out that first half of the year. It wasn't working. And then something clicked. And the offer that I put out in that like September or October was one of my biggest launches at the time, obviously. And I ended up making, with everything else, like by the end of the year, I didn't hit the 100,000, but who cares? I hit 93,000, and I had fundamentally changed the way that I think. I had fundamentally changed what I thought was possible. I had to reevaluate like how much more was available to me if I was willing to just try and like go after things. And so I want you to really think about this in a different way than maybe you've thought about goals. The point of goals is not to be perfect. The point of goals is not to be some kind of a robot where you're consistent all the time. The point of a goal is to push you to try things to grow. It's to push you to beyond the capacity that you have, beyond the comfort zone that you're used to get uncomfortable and figure out what you're made of, to see what you're capable of, to see what other things you can try in your life. And that's going to come with a lot of failure. And the only way that that matters is if you use that failure to give up. Otherwise, if you just use it to learn, or if you use it to like repivot yourself or to figure out what is actually important, like there's oftentimes where I'll have goals and I'll do it and I'm like, I actually don't care about this. I picked this because I thought I should, because everybody else said it, and I'll change the goal after one quarter, right? I'll do it for 90 days and I'm like, you know what? I'm not really feeling this. That's okay too. It's not to say that like you always have to have this success with it. But I think that when you approach it in that way, not only does it become so much more manageable, because now we're not thinking about the whole year. We're thinking about the next 90 days. We're thinking about this sprint. What do I have to do just to get past this? And then I can pivot. I can evaluate and see what I need to do. But it also becomes like the point is the goal, is the journey. The point is not reaching some destination. It's not achieving something, because when I do that, I'm just going to make another goal. I'm just going to go to the next thing. It's simply like, what am I going to learn in these 90 days when I put myself out there, when I start making the TikToks, when I sell this offer, when I show up at the gym, and work on keeping my word to myself and being consistent. Who does that make me? And the person you become is the point of all of it. It's not the things you're going to get. It's not the results. All that stuff's great, but becoming the person that pushes themselves, that isn't afraid of failure, that isn't living their life based on what everyone else thinks, that can be consistent, that does keep their word to themselves, that does accomplish things, that blows their own mind, is worth all of the discomfort that you might have to endure in order to go after the goal. So it's just my reminder to you that if you haven't set a goal, or you have one that has gone by the wayside, now is the time to re-pick that up. Now is the time to sit back and evaluate what worked, what didn't, what am I going to do differently this next 90 days? Pick 3 things you're going to work on to get closer to that goal. Plan it out, right? Set a schedule of like when you're going to work on it. Because if you're just going to, hope is not a strategy. If you're just hoping you're going to get to it, you're hoping that someday you're going to work on it, it's never going to happen. Sit down and actually plan. Like if I can only do 2 hours a week, great. What 2 hours every week am I going to work on this? Make that plan. Start over in April and see where the next 90 days gets you, and then go from there and pivot, evaluate, and keep doing the same thing. I promise you, your goals become inevitable. It becomes so much easier to actually hit any goal when you break it down into these 90-day sprints, when you stop letting your all or nothing thinking stop you and you actually get after it. So pick up that goal again, get into Q2, and let me know what you come up with by the end of these 90 days. All right, my friends, I hope that was helpful, and I will be back next week for another episode.